Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to Monetary Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the brand new G.I. Joe classified Ninja Force Zartan figure. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about this Zartan. So if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, you'll have some good, thorough information to make a purchase decision around. I'm going to kick things off by jumping back in time and visiting past me on the day that Ninja Force Zartan arrived on my doorstep and run you through the packaging. Then I'll get into the figure, talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience, talk about the articulation and posability, give you a rundown of all the accessories and determine whether they're added value, and pop him next to a couple of other G.I. Joe classified series characters to see how he fits, in display with the crew. And with all that said and done, you should have plenty of information to know whether you want to crack your wallet or purse open for Zartan. So let's get into it, and let's jump back in time to visit past Chris, who's going to take a look at the packaging on the day it arrived. Here we go. Okay then, folks, well, let's have a look at Ninja Force Zartan here in packaging for those who are minting box or eager to know about the presence of the figure. And it's what we've been seeing with G.I. Joe Classified series for quite a while now. Got the logo at the bottom, got Cobra and the Ninja Force logos to kind of acknowledge the team, sub-teams that this figure belongs to. Got that carbon fiber motif, name of the figure in the corner, Cobra Zartan, and of course the window showing off the figure and all the goodies in the middle. Then on the back we can see that he's 192 in the line, got the digital render showing the figure in action, two breakaway windows highlighting a couple of key features, which looks mostly like accessories here. We've got the legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom, and then of course the file card information. Let's learn more about Zartan together, shall we? And to get us started here, this first one, we've got this $sign over a crossbones. This is to indicate that Ninja Force Zartan's taking an active interest in the new upcoming Tide Realms Corsair Kickstarter. He may be a ninja, but he also loves him some pirates. Then we've got some folded paper here. This is because in amongst the range of ninja skills that Ninja Force Zartan possesses during his time studying in Japan, he also learned origami. Then we've got these fishnets here. We don't really talk about that, but what Zartan wants to do on a Saturday, it's entirely up to him. And then finally, we've got this two-faced kind of symbol here. This is because Ninja Force Zartan's favourite movie is the John Woo classic, Face Off. Then on this side here, we've got the artwork. It's not too bad, this one. I mean, it probably, in all likelihood, still is AI artwork, but it's not quite as egregious as some of the ones we've seen lately. And the action seems to work, and things are proportional, at least. And then on this side, we've got a repeat of a load of stuff and the QR code to nowhere. So there we are, folks. There's Ninja Force Zartan in packaging. So if you're minting box, you've got a sense of what that looks and feels like. But I'm not minting box. I'm going to crack this bad boy open. Going to get good hands-on with the figure, get some agile playtime in, do some displaying, take some photographs, check him out next to some other figures, all that good stuff. Jot down some review notes and share those with you. So stick around. Future Chris is going to come back and do that in 3, 2, 1... All right then, folks, present day Chris now, and we're going to move into the review section of the video, and we're going to kick things off by talking about the aesthetic and the visual experience with Ninja Force Zartan here. And to start us, here's a full head-to-toe look of the figure for you to eyeball and to peruse for a moment. And of course, the first thing that strikes anybody who's familiar with the character, familiar with Ninja Force Zartan, is that it's drawn very heavy inspiration from the original vintage figure from back in 92, 93-ish. So we've got the orange mohawk, the orange face markings, the sleeveless black leather zip-up vest thing, or his coat that he's removed the sleeves from, the green pants, the purple embellishments, the kind of core identifying features from that original figure are all present and correct. Even down to things like the wrist guard for the bow and arrow and the ready orange chain that's hanging from this shoulder here. However, what they have also done, and this is where Classifieds, sometimes hits its peak, is they've taken that original idea and just updated it and added more depth and brought it more to life in the 6-inch plastic form. And while it's not straying wildly from the original vintage look of the figure, you can see that the green on the pants isn't quite as, out there as bright greeny. The purple's a little bit more subdued. They've added some more embellishments because modern technology allows for better paint applications and such like. So a little bit of chainmail on the shoulder here, the zips are painted on, etc, etc. So they've taken the core figure, the original vintage figure, used it as their inspiration, but just embellished it ever so slightly. Whether it's enough to say it's a fully classifiedized interpretation of the character, I would argue not, but they've still updated it suitably in the 6-inch form. Bringing the figure nearer the camera then, let's have a closer inspection of these finer details, and here's the face sculpt, folks. Lovely face sculpt there. up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified Series standard with the nice sculpted features in there. So your chin line, your lips, your mouth, your cheeks, etc. The furrowed brow, the creases on the brow, the ears all nicely sculpted in. The eyes are great. Look at that. Just some kind of real mad bastard stuff going on there. He looks angry and crazy and murderous. Love it. And of course, he's got the orange version of his face markings there over his eyes rather than the black. The mohawk's pretty sweet as well, nicely sculpted in that orangey colour too, to, you know, kind of tie it all together and to be true to the original, which is really nice to see. So a lovely sculpt with a little bit of kind of windswept, you know, blowing in the windness about it all, which is nice. And then coming further down into the figure, I've already mentioned some of these additional kind of paint applications to bring it to life, but you can see little sculpted details like the zipper, the little graspy bit on the zipper there, little sculpted pockets and straps, little bit of paint application on the buckle at the bottom of his leather jacket, which I'm always appreciative of. Some few texture details like some padded sections there. The collar is, see how it's like sort of sculpted, flicked up too, you know, going full James Dean on it there, and you can see around the back more of that kind of padding and nice texture detail with the sort of drapage and little creases and folds and stuff to really give it some depth. That's fully sculpted as well. This little chainmail section, the actual edge of the zippers is sculpted too, and then this orangey red chain around the side. The only thing with that is I don't know if you can see, the paint looks a little bit kind of splodged on. It's not quite as, you see there, like it's just a bit untidy. And a bit splodged on it, which is not too bad, but it sort of stands out against when you've got that there, where you can see the black sections underneath, and then you've got this here where the holes in the chains are just got splodgy paint in them and little bits missed and such like. Metallic belt buckle, folks, with a nice sculpted dreadnought symbol in there. Love that. Always love a painted belt buckle. And the belt itself is black, but you can see that the belt loops on his trousers are painted over the top too. Always a big fan of little details of that nature. Then we've got his little archery wrist guard here, which is consistent in design. You know, the kind of the design style of it, the aesthetic of it matches up with the padding on the front of the shins that we'll look at in a moment. But that's in a plain black, but you can see there's paint applications on the little spiky sections too that he could obviously use to do a bit of damage if he was so inclined. And then he's got this little silver biker bracelet thing here, which I think we've seen before on one of the other dreadnoughts, but I forget which one now. Off the top of my head. Nice textural detail in the pants as well, and sculpted in sections to make them, you know, look like trousers. So you can see these kind of stitch bits, and there's the zipper fly at the front and what have you, which is all nice to see, as well as the kind of leathery look on things like these little knife sheaths and the straps around the and the paneling around the side here. And then we've got his shin guards over the front of his boots and his knee guards in that more subdued purple with a design aesthetic, a design language that looks very similar to the one on his wrist, and then his shiny silver toe caps. Around the back here, you can see much more of that texture detail around the back and the sides there, where it's all kind of creased and bunching up, where he's got his knee pads strapped around his knees and such like, which is nice to see. So yeah, aesthetically, sure, I'm giving it a thumbs up. It's like wild and wacky and balmy enough to appeal to my tastes, but subdued enough that they've toned down the absolute craziness of the original Ninja Force figure. And of course, just broadly speaking, as a character design, it's fun, it's interesting. He's a punk rock biker dude with these little ninja-y bits when you start gearing him up as well. And that kind of weird mashup, that mismatch of, you know, biker gang member and ninja just smashed together is like super fun. And really interesting. You know, it's just an interesting looking figure. The little flashes of colour as well. I love a good flash of colour on the shelf. It's all adding up as in the plus column for me. So I'm definitely giving it a thumbs up. Oh, just knocked my camera. Sorry, folks. I'm definitely giving him a thumbs up. Aesthetically, the visual experience, I think, is super fun. So there you go. All right, well, let's now take a closer look at the articulation and posability, shall we? And just before I dive into it, folks, just a quick word. The articulation here on Ninja Force Zartan is standard G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation. So if you've had one in hand before, if you're less interested in seeing the articulation walkthrough, I'll put chapters in. You can use the timestamps and jump ahead to take a look at the section where I talk about the accessories and added value. However, if this is the first G.I. Joe Classified Series figure you've ever seen a review for, or you're interested to know if there's any particular unique quirks, then stick around. I'll walk you through it and we'll get started up top with the head. And here we have a ball at the base of the skull, ball at the base of the neck, giving you down to about there, giving you up to about there, all the way around, full Exorcist 360, and then you can tilt and swivel like so. Coming down into the shoulder is the butterfly joint underneath the jacket here, then the peg and the hinge, so you've got some shuffle back and forward like so, all the way around, full 360, and you can T-shape him out like that. Got the swivel at the top of the arm on the bicep and tricep there, pinless double elbow that'll take you up to there, and then pegged in hands that can go all the way around in the wrist, and then this one on the left-hand side's got a forward and back hinge, and the one on the right-hand side has got an up and down hinge. Coming down into the torso, it's the standard hinge across the middle of the torso and the ball joint in the waist. The torso hinge, you can do a bit of movement with it. You can crunch him forward a bit and crunch him forward a bit back, but it can be tough. Something about the way the vest sits over the top makes it a little bit difficult, but not impossible. And then the ball joint at the waist has got loads of movement there, like so. Drop down joints at the hip and groin. So full forward out to there. And then the full Russian ballet out to there. Swivel at the top of the thigh, pinless double knee, that'll get you up to there. Got a swivel at the top of the boot, which sits nicely across the boot line, so it's lovely and disguised. And then the hinge and rockers on the waist. On the waist? On the ankles? Hinge and rockers on the ankles, Chris. I'm tired. I shouldn't record these reviews so late. Hinge and rockers on the ankles there for your feet movement. Oh yeah, thumbs up on the articulation and posability. No real restrictions to speak of. The only thing is the hinge across the torso, and like I said before, it's not impossible. It's probably, you can do it. It's just a bit makes the jacket ride up a little bit, but even then, as you can see, you barely even notice it. The G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation scheme's good. He was nice out the box as well. Had to apply no heat at all to get him going and up and running, and everything was good, especially when I started to try and engage with the accessories as well. All the pictures I was trying to take, everything in my imagination I wanted to do was possible to do. The only thing I'll say, I suppose, is that with Ninja figures like this, I just wish some of that Jada Toys vibe was in there, like, so you could get them to independently kick on one leg, which I just don't seem to be able to get done with G.I. Joe Classified Series figures. I don't know if it's something to do with the feet or what. Other than that, all good. All right, well, let's now take a look at the accessories, shall we? And first things first on the list, we've got Ninja Force Zartan's compound bow here. It's a new sculpt. You can see all the pulleys and levers and what have you in there. All the sculpted detail around the grip and around the various sections of the bow, which is nice. And then you got your kind of loose pull rope at the back there, which is lovely to see. It's a very, very bendy. It's a very loose. It's up to the usual G.I. Joe Classified Series standard in that respect. And then there's a few extra sort of embellishing bits you could do with the bow. So you've got the quiver here with the arrows in it, with that kind of matching sort of orangey red to the chain across his shoulder, with the sculpted flights in at the top. There you can see he's got this little peg on the underside here, which fits into that little peg hole there, like so. There you go, there's the compound bow with the quiver attached. And then what we've got is we can remove this back rope here using a little peg system in the back there. And in its place, you can add this section here, which is, a pulled back bowstring with a knocked arrow so that you can pose him up in kind of taking aim poses and such like. And you just feed that through here. There's a little section on the bow. Can you see just behind my finger there? That it sits on, and then you just pop the pegs in the holes, and there you go. There's the compound bow with the drawn back knocked arrow. The only thing I will mention is you can see here on the back of the arrow where the flight is. You have to kind of get it the right way around so that it sits in that groove correctly. Otherwise, it looks like the arrow's bending. And Ninja Force Zartan comes with a couple of swords, one longer, one shorter. Nice painted blades on these. However, you've possibly already noticed that through playing with him over the last couple of days, I've already chipped away loads of my silver paint on the longer blade there, which is a shame. However, I'm always a fan of having metallic paint applications on blades. And then they've both got their little sculpted details in here, little embellishments across the bottom to give it some character and some personality, and they're unique to each sword as well. Two different designs with the sculpted in handles with a little embellishment across the bottom there to give them some character too. Somebody said to me that these were Chinese style swords, but there's a few folks who watch the reviews who are pretty knowledgeable on this stuff, so if you want to drop some knowledge for me in the comments down below on the origin of these. That'd be great. And then for the swords, we've got a little backpack peg for a couple of sword sheaths. You can see a nice leathery texture on these with some straps across the top, although no paint applications on the buckles, sadly. And the swords slide into these. It's specific. There's a specific one for each sword. So we've got a smaller channel on this one here on the right-hand side as you're looking at it on the screen, and a larger channel on the left-hand side as you're looking at it on screen there for them to go in there. And then they just peg on his back. And Zartan comes with this little scythe, handled scythe there. Again, you can see a paint application, metallic paint application on the blade, and a metallic paint application on this kind of knuckle dustery bit at the front. At least I'm assuming that's why that would be made out of metal, for, like, you know, thumping people in the face with. And then a sculpted handle on it too. Sadly, no on-figure storage for that, at least not that I could figure out. But still a lovely kind of mean-looking little scythe weapon there. Very nice indeed. And then finally, Zartan has a couple of throwing knives here. Again, up to the same standard. Got the sculpted in handles. Got the little, I don't know what these are for. These are like little for popping your fingers through. And then your metallic painted blades. Although, once again, as you could probably see, if I hold them both up, I'm getting paint chip on those from sliding them in and out of their sheaths. Which, incidentally, as you probably noticed earlier when I was walking through the figure, are on his thigh. Just here, like so. And they're a pretty decent fit, although I do find sometimes when I'm playing around with him, they start to slide out a little bit, and you have to sort of push them back in to make sure they look flush for the picker you're taking or whatever. So, once again, folks, it's 3 out of 3, 3 thumbs up for Ninja Force Zartan, because I think the accessories are pretty good too. Loving the new twist on the bow there to add the knocked arrow setup so that you can, do more with it in terms of posing. I like that the quiver's removable on the side as well, so if you wanted to kind of go back and use this newer version of the bow with some of your older figures, like your Storm Shadow, for example, or your Shadow Tracker, then you can do, which is nice. Although, hey, Hasbro, how about a little accessory pack with like some upgraded gear for some older characters when you do little innovations like this? What do you reckon? But yeah, it's good. I mean, it's very obviously very focused on his weapons loadout, but that kind of makes sense. He's a very kind of offensive ninja assassin kind of character there. He's all about the combat. Might be nice to do something with the face, perhaps, to lean a little bit into his, his face changing, his camouflage speciality, but in terms of leaning into the ninja motif, then yeah, absolutely. And when you add all that ninja gear on top of that kind of punk rocky biker vibe with the tiny bits of ninja stuff that was in the body and then throwing the weapons on, it just really completes this really insane look that has a great deal of shelf presence. So not only are the accessories fun to play with, but they also add to the visual identity of the character as well. So yeah, big thumbs up. Very happy with that. Okay, well, there we go. There's the accessories. Let's now take a look at Ninja Force Zartan next to a couple of other G.I. Joe classified characters, shall we? And to start us off with the figure comparison, here is Ninja Force Zartan next to mainline Zartan here on the left, and the Cold Slither Zartan here on the right. The many faces of Zartan in my collection. God damn you, Hasbro, for making me buy repeat characters. Here he is with Slice and Dice. Here he is next to the Snake Eyes version 4. And finally, here he is next to a little sneak peek as to what the next review coming up on the channel is. There's Taurus from the Red Dog and Taurus 2-pack. Okay then, ladies and gents, well, here is Ninja Force Zartan going round on the turntable. You can get a nice 360 view of the figure, and while you're taking a look at that, I'll offer you up some final thoughts. And I don't think it will come as any surprise from the tone of the review up to this point. I am recommending Ninja Force Zartan. This is a banging figure. I mean, I don't think it would come as a surprise to regulars around these parts that a shape-shifting, chameleonic, biker gang ninja assassin with wildly impractical colour scheme clothing for all his various jobs and functions would appeal to me. But there you go, it does. Absolutely. I love it when G.I. Joe's a bit balmy. I love it when it's a bit wacky. We know that. The folks who hang out around here a lot are well aware of my position on that side of things, and this is another great balmy character. And it's another win for G.I. Joe Classified, because Ninja Force Zartan was after my time with the original action figure line. I'd never owned one of these as a kid. I'm not familiar with the character from any kind of comic book lore that I believe I've read, or does he appear in the DIC cartoon? I'm trying to remember, but yeah, you know, he's not a character I'm nostalgically attached to, but I just love the look of the design when I saw the figure when they opened it up for pre-order, and here we are. I love it in hand, so lots of fun. I've been playing around with him loads this last couple of days as my desk figure. Really, really like him, and I highly recommend him. All right, well, there we go. Well, thanks for watching, folks. I hope this helped if you were, on the fence about making a purchase for you to make a decision. If it did, do all the YouTubey stuff, all the thumbs up, subscribe, etc., tell a friend, yada, yada, yada. Otherwise, all that remains to say is thanks very much for watching. I'm very pleased to have had you around these parts. Have yourselves a great day. Have yourselves a great week. And swing back around again for another video sometime soon. It'd be my pleasure to have you. All right, take it easy, folks.